Howdy, howdy! Woo! And welcome to But It Was Aliens, the paranormal comedy podcast where we probe paranormal activity to decide, for the questionable benefit of humanity, whether that activity really was paranormal. My name is Mr. Kev in the John, and alongside me, with no idea what we'll be covering today, is Mr. Granville Moonwalker. Today, we are covering a case you have all probably heard of, dear probers. You just may not realise that you've heard of it.
Am I included in this category?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Roswell?
No, we've covered that. You covered it, in fact.
Is it the Sassy Saga Part 4, 5, 6 or 7? I don't know what number we're up to.
Lost count at 2. No.
Is this Roswell 2.0?
Also no. Also, if there was a Roswell...
3.0?
How many point O's are there?
Is this the New Zealand Roswell?
No.
The Irish Roswell?
No. Just no.
The Venezuelan Roswell? It's the Rosies.
We begin our episode today in 1935.
Ooh! Is this the 1935 Roswell? The Roswell before Roswell?
Send help. So many unnecessary guesses. So many. Roland Doe.
Roswell!
No, Roland.
Oh.
Roland Doe was born on the 1st of June to a German Lutheran family and lived...
Roswell.
Also no. And lived around Maryland in the United States of America. Lutheranism, to massively simplify, is one of the larger branches of Protestantism which led towards the Reformation, a splitting of the religious body of Christianity during the 1500s. Roland was an only child, and so during his childhood in Cottage City, a 20-minute drive to Washington, D.C., Roland had to rely on the adults around him to be his play buddies. Chief play buddy was Roland's aunt Harriet. Harriet loved Roland, and Harriet was also a spiritualist who possessed artifacts of the occult. Roland and Aunt Harriet would play all the time, and times were the best when the artifacts came out. One such artifact Harriet possessed was a Ouija board, and Roland was particularly interested in this object. Harriet loved to keep Roland happy, so Harriet let Roland play with the board. We don't really know what Roland did with the board or who Roland may have spoken to. We just know that he used the board.
Bad move, Roland. Bad move.
I'd argue that it's a bad move, Harriet. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a bad move for Roland, but Roland was a child who knew no better. Harriet was caring for this child. Bad move, Roland.
Bad move, Roland. May not be a bad move, Harriet, if she had an ulterior motive. Also, Lutheranism.
Yep.
Sounds like not a disease, but an infliction. Almost like lichens and
I feel like you're getting
vampirism.
on a peculiar path here.
Suffer from Lutheranism.
Religious zealots.
Cannot say anything without saying the name Luther afterwards, or singing Luther Vandross songs.
Never too much. Imagine if that's what the religion actually was. They all walk down the street singing Luther Vandross. Ding dong. You open your door. Oh, my love. Another one walks down the street past them. Never too much.
Never too much Luther.
Never. Aunt Harriet sadly passed away approximately 1948, and Roland continued on for a little while as normal, just that little bit lonelier. When Roland was 13, a few months on from the passing during January 1949, things begun changing. During the day, Roland was his usual calm self, but at night, Roland heard things. It started with scratching in the walls.
Too much.
He heard a loofah pass by outside. It started with scratching in the walls and floor, but no rats or insect invasions, for example, could be found. Despite no cause being identified, the sounds continued. Next, water started dripping from pipes and running down the walls. Okay, by itself, that's not so weird unless it's Don Decker Rain Man levels, as we covered on Cyprobe 7, but things further escalated. As Roland lay in his bed late at night, his mattress began moving by itself. I'm not talking just one little knock where you might even have imagined it. I'm talking hydraulic car bumping levels of shake in this mattress.
Ooh.
Next, Roland would experience wild outbursts and screaming fits and would even begin entering a trance-like state. When in the trance, nobody could get through to Roland. Roland began speaking in a guttural voice that seemed to croak from deep within the throat.
Never too much, never too much.
This voice didn't sound like Roland at all, because it was Luther. One night, Roland was in a trance, unresponsive to his family, when suddenly red scratches began appearing all over Roland's body. What the F? Leave the boy. Run! Save yourselves! It's too late for him now! The family didn't run though. The family took Roland to the doctors like responsible parents, but the doctors were absolutely baffled. What the hell do you do with this? This isn't in the medical handbook. Psychiatrists too failed to help. Roland's family, having failed with the medical world, turned to religion and called in their local Lutheran minister, Father Luther M. Schultz. Had to be called Luther, didn't he? The minister had Roland stay over one night to examine him and quickly decided that he wanted no part of this. The father had too much. The father directed the family to Catholic priest Father E. Albert Hughes, who immediately sought his superior's permission to undertake an exorcism, for the father knew that this was not something that could be addressed through the medical world.
It's something I thought of during that, and that was the moment that the scar appeared on him, or the red cut line.
Yep.
Whatever. I'm wondering why they do that. And what's that for? Is that them just, we have control and we can cut this vessel, or
Possibly a sign of power, possibly an attempt to communicate, possibly an attempt to freak out people because either they want to cause chaos or feed on those sorts of emotions,
and
or are they trying to claw their way out?
so I suppose they claw their way out. Are you saying that the body is like a doorway?
Container, perhaps. Yeah,
And
maybe it's like a corridor.
I wonder if the person whose body that is feels that, or is their consciousness essentially asleep somewhere else, like you're in a coma?
So what you're saying is that their consciousness comes into play.
No. Because it would essentially be asleep, would it not?
Oh, depends. I don't think this is a yes or no question. I think it depends on the circumstances. You might be ever present but unable to control things, but aware. Or you might go to a dark room in your...
That's what I'm wondering. Do they still feel that cut?
I'm going to say yes, but unable to react. It's like somebody else is in the driving seat.
And you're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
Like E.T.
Rider. I guess the demon test of speaking in languages you don't know and displaying supernatural ability must have been passed, because the exorcism request was granted in February 1949 and Father Hughes proceeded immediately. Roland was strapped to the mattress on his bed at the Jesuit Georgetown University Hospital, and the good father begun his recitations. Upon hearing the holy word, Roland was pissed. It was almost as if Roland was possessed. During the rite, Roland somehow managed to get partially free and broke off a piece of mattress spring. Most of us listening to this podcast have slept on a mattress. It is not easy to remove a freaking spring from a mattress. In fact, I'd say that it's pretty freaking hard. Roland took that spring and slashed the priest across his shoulders, cutting deep, and, having done a fair bit of damage, the exorcism ended unfinished. The power was too much for the priest. A few days later, a new red scratch appeared on Roland, saying, Louis. Louis. That's pretty tough to fake. The family, understandably lost to this point, took this as a sign that their salvation would be found in St. Louis and moved to a house on Roanoke Drive in the Belle Noire neighbourhood of St. Louis, Missouri, near to their family. The house, some would say, was a beautiful colonial-style house. I like that they think the Louis is their salvation. What makes them think this is something holy communicating?
Yeah. What if it was just telling them its name?
Yeah.
I'm Louis, guys. Hi. Just want to be friends.
Or that's who they're after.
Or that's where all their friends were, who are going to join the party, so to speak.
Ooh.
You're walking right into their trap.
An unfortunate demon orgy for this poor soul.
This thing wants to get to a party going down in St. Louis.
You can find me in St. Louis.
Roland's family, having failed with the Washington father and on the recommendation of a cousin who attended St. Louis University, contacted Jesuit priests Reverend William Bowdern and Father Walter H. Halloran.
Before you continue,
Yes?
are they just looking for anything with a connection to Louis now? You're a cousin. You went to St. Louis University. Maybe you're our salvation.
That's what they meant.
Maybe it's your recommendation that will save him.
The Jesuits agreed to conduct an exorcism with several of their assistants, for they knew of the power. In March, the holy folk gathered at the family home. As the exorcism begun, Roland's bed moved by itself again. After rocking a little, things escalated. The bed suddenly slid violently across the bedroom towards the priests and knocked them to the floor like a bowling ball. Strike! Great shot! The priests witnessed red scratches appear on the boy's body. Despite this display of scary power, the priests were not deterred. The priests had actually begun to notice a pattern in Roland's presentation. Roland was always fine throughout the day, but come night time, it was only after settling in for bed that the activity started. That's not to say it wasn't unholy, just to be clear, just that they target their exorcisms at night. The priests didn't question because they also witnessed Roland becoming unsettled and violent whenever holy artifacts were near. A pitchfork-shaped scratch appeared on the boy and moved down to Roland's ankle. A big red X appeared on the boy's chest, which the priests took to mean the number 10, representing 10 demons within the boy. And the priests also witnessed objects like vases flying in the boy's presence.
They see an X.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing an X, they think that's the number 10, meaning there's 10 bodies.
Yes.
10 bodies, 10 demons.
I'm with you, yeah.
What if they were just big fans of Exhibit?
Or DMX.
Yep.
Or Louis the Tenth.
Ooh. Hey, but these are time-traveling demons, and they were like, we're going to put you on to...
What if this is just a random ghost called Louis Xander or something who's trying to find his way home? Just say my name and I can leave the body. They're not saying Louis. They're saying, let's go to St. Louis. Doesn't count. Got to say his name.
Got to say his name.
And he shall appear.
What if... No.
Well, this isn't the first case we've covered where they thought there are multiple demons inside a body. We had the house of, was it 100 or 200 demons, the Ammons family. We've had the Ludon possessions, where we've got numerous demons like in the arm, the leg, and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there so many inside someone? I
suppose it depends on whether they're like little mischievous demons, like your little 30 centimetre high demons that gather, or if these are not fully grown, but...
Big Papa Chaos.
Yeah. Therefore, how do they all stay within the vessel?
I think we theorised in the Ludon episode as to whether it was one demon, or no, was that the Ammons one actually? Anyway, we theorised that it was one demon being clever and pretending it was multiple different ones so they didn't clock onto who it was.
What if this body is literally a doorway and it's similar to being John Malkovich, and they're like, I'm having a turn today, and they walk in, they're the one that controls it at night, and they were trying to rat out Louis. Louis trying to rat out Xander.
It is Exhibit.
Once the name's said, they can no longer possess the body, so they're trying to trick people into saying it.
The priests would not be deterred, and the exorcisms continued. On March the 20th, things really escalated. Roland urinated all over his bed in a violent outburst, and Roland's parents couldn't take any more, so they took Roland to Alexian Brothers Hospital's psychiatric unit. Deadly moving bed and flying objects, yeah, that's fine, but piss on the bed and we need a specialist hospital. The priests continued to visit at the hospital. Further red marks spelling out words such as evil and hell begun appearing on Roland, and Roland broke Father Halloran's nose despite being restrained. To help build Roland's power to resist evil, Roland converted to Catholicism on April the 1st. Come April the 18th, 1949, Roland awoke in a seizure before yelling that Satan would always be with him. The priests laid holy relics and crucifixes directly onto Roland. The priests began screaming commands directly at Satan and promised that Saint Michael, the chief archangel, would battle the devil for the boy's soul. How do you reckon St. Michael feels about being signed up for a fight he didn't start? Michael could turn up like,
This ain't my beef, guys.
For all we know, but not on this occasion, because 7 minutes after the devil was threatened with battle with St. Michael, the boy suddenly snapped out of his trance and said quietly, "He's gone."
Okay, so there's a few things I want to pick up on here. Mm-hmm. So he got up and urinated all over the bed in a violent outburst.
Incredibly violent.
And his parents took him to psychiatric ward.
Yes.
How were they strong enough to take him to a psychiatric ward against his will, yet he's like strong enough to break a priest's nose even though
So
he's
think the activity is kind of in and out. It's not always constant. So I'd imagine that after the outburst was finished,
and he calmed down.
And like in the movies when you see someone and then they're like and buggered afterwards for a bit.
Okay.
I reckon it's kind of like that. Yeah.
The red marks spelling evil and hell. Why would a demon do that?
Yeah, unless this was a really, really clever demon trying to come across as thick and throw them off the scent.
Oh. Or are the markings on the body coming from Roland himself? Is he marking himself?
So we have an account where one was seen to appear, but that doesn't... The research that I read didn't say that anyone witnessed these ones appear. They were there.
Oh, okay. You also brought up the other thing that I was going to mention. Yeah, when they were like, St. Michael will come and battle you. And it's like, will I?
I'm actually playing my Xbox at the moment. Just give me a minute.
Why? Why have I got to do it?
I'm in my pants. I want to get dressed today. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I just want to chill. Stop making me go to work.
Michael goes to work and just rolls over on the floor. I can't be bothered, man. The devil just gives him a little pretend tap and a pin, finger poke of doom.
And then the moment he like snaps out of it and says quietly, he's gone. He's just like, he's saying Michael's gone. Not the other way around. You're like, yeah, we've done our jobs. Yeah. They're all throwing a party. And then he's just sitting there with a like proper evil grin on his face. Fucking idiots.
I'm going to have an easy time. Going to bide his time for a couple of years and then bring on the apocalypse. Roland would later recount that he had experienced a vision of Saint Michael vanquishing Satan on a great battlefield. The possession was over, and Roland went on to live a normal life free of evil. Just like that, it was done. An article about this case made its way to the Washington Post on the 20th of August 1949, though details further than priests undertaking an exorcism were limited. It's believed the source was the family's former Lutheran pastor, Luther Miles Schultz. Inspired by this story, in 1971, author William Peter Blatty would write a little best-selling novel by the name of The Exorcist. The film of the same name was released in 1973, with the series it spawned identifying the demon to be Pazuzu, rather than Satan or 10 demons. Roland was, of course, turned into 12-year-old Regan, and a few details such as a 360-degree rotating head were added. Roland, meanwhile, went on to marry and have children, naming his first son Michael, perhaps after the angel who saved his soul. Reverend William Bowdern passed away in 1983 at 86 years of age, and Father Walter Halloran passed on in 2005 from cancer, refusing to go on record with any clarity on what he witnessed before his passing. The room at the Alexian Brothers Hospital where the exorcism was undertaken was sealed, and the whole building ended up being torn down in 1978. One of the attending fathers, Father Bishop, kept a diary, which is where a lot of the finer details of the exorcisms came from. Father's diary. A holy yet honourable artefact.
I was going to say, it's not like you can turn around and call a priest a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
especially when they're writing in their diary, they don't expect to be examined by others.
Absolutely. I was going to ask at the start, actually, when you mentioned about him being like the exorcism and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask, is this the original Exorcist?
It is. Yes, it is.
But I just didn't.
As I said, everyone will have heard of this one without necessarily having heard of this one. It's the one that inspired them all. One thought I had, and I was getting really sidetracked whilst researching this one myself, was again, we've previously covered that angel and demon possession have the same symptoms. So what if this was actually Michael all along, trying to plan to birth himself onto the earth? Demons are fallen angels.
I wonder how much time passes in the other... When he came to, when all of this was over and it was done, did he have any recollection of it other than seeing Michael defeat Lucifer?
Some, yes.
Did he have any recollection of things that didn't occur that we already know of?
What do you mean, sorry?
So did he say, I saw this, I saw that, I witnessed this, things that he saw that we didn't know? Because if he saw St. Michael defeat Lucifer, did he see anything else?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So all he kind of remembers are details that we already know.
Yeah.
I'm now wondering, did he actually see Michael defeat Lucifer? Or is that what his brain was telling him after this whole thing was done? Because was he technically out cold and in a coma throughout the entire thing? Or...
Well, he was in and out, wasn't he? Mad, outburst, then calm, and whatnot.
And also, defeat doesn't mean end. So they could have played a game of Uno and he lost. I defeated Lucifer in a game of Uno. Right.
Could have been anything.
Yeah. They could have played Tiddlywinks or Rochambeau.
Whoever gets the first kick is winning.
Yeah, damn it.
At this point, we're going to debate what may have been the cause of these events. We'll look at skepticism first. Was mental health at play? Roland grew up in a religious family, and sometimes that can bring with it a level of pressure to conform. Combine this with the passing of Roland's chief play buddy, Roland's Aunt Harriet, the only person interested in him, and that's a fair few ingredients that could bubble to the surface alongside any risk factors that could have already been underlying for Roland. On top of that, playing with the occult could have opened a doorway in Roland's mind. Was this a case of mental ill health? Another line of skeptical inquiry is whether this was a cry for attention. Again, Roland's aunt, one of his favourite people, passed on. Roland may not have had much attention in the home, and this could have been some form of attempt to get that attention he needed. It could even be that Roland started believing what he was saying, and things escalated beyond his control. Roland came up with the idea, but then the idea took over Roland uncontrollably. That's pretty much it for the normal. It is hard to explain flying items unless people exaggerated, and it's hard to explain scratches unless Roland somehow did it to himself. And on that note, if things were intentional, Roland attempted murder when he slashed at that priest with the spring. Looking to the paranormal, was this one exactly what it says on the tin? Was this a case of several demons? Well, 10 demons specifically. We had the X scratched into Roland, and the priest claimed rigidly that both the bed moved by itself and items flew around Roland. We've had cases where it's likely children have thrown Lego, for example, in the past, but we are talking heavier items floating here. That is hard to fake. Holy people don't tend to lie about this stuff. We know Roland played with a Ouija board. Did Roland invite entities in? Is that why so many were present? Roland kept opening doorways for entities with bloody encouragement from Aunt Harriet. Remember that Roland said at the end of the final exorcism that he was gone. That implies only one demon was attacking the boy. Was the demon indeed Satan? Does Satan take the time and effort to target what is basically an inconsequential child? Unless, I suppose, the devil knew that the Exorcist would follow and inspire all sorts of fear and bad juju.
I think your papa's noticed some bad juju downstairs.
Yeah, someone has decided rudely to ring the doorbell. On the note of one he, we covered in that Ludon side probe, I believe, that angelic visits and demonic possession can both have the same symptoms, as I mentioned. Forgive me for throwing this one out there, but we don't know the motivation of otherworldly beings. What if this was a possession by Michael all along? Roland's kid was called Michael. What if that was the plan? Michael wanted to be reborn as a human to bring about salvation or the end of days. I'm not saying that's what I believe, just, well, who freaking knows? These events are beyond comprehension. What if Aunt Harriet was keeping whatever was responsible here from taking Roland? I'll just add before we summarise that Roland has since been identified as Ronald Edwin Hunkeler, who passed away on the 10th of May 2020. 48 people in total, including 9 Jesuits, witnessed these events, and much is as I've shared, though there is no official record of the first father to have attempted the exorcism, Father Hughes, having taken Roland to Georgetown University Hospital. That is the probe.
Do you reckon if that was a case of, let's say, for example, Michael did beat Lucifer in a game of Tiddlywinks.
Yeah.
He's doing a U and refusing to play the game again, so he keeps that victory. Lucifer's just sat there with Tiddlywinks in his back pocket the whole time. Every family reunion is like, Tiddlywinks.
Michael's like, I retired a long time ago. I simply cannot.
He like puts his arm around his shoulder. But it's such nice weather outside. Look, brother. Just refuses the game of Tiddlywinks for so long. That's what's got him so pissed. It's Tiddlywinks.
The game of the devil. In summary, we've covered the case of Roland Doe, aka Robbie Mannheim, later named as Ronald Edwin Hunkeler. Roland was an only child who loved playing with his occult-loving aunt and her Ouija board. When that aunt passed away, it wasn't long before Roland began hearing scratching. Scratches began appearing, and Roland's bed began moving. Roland would enter trances and speak in a demonic voice. The family sought medical assistance, but nobody could help. The family turned to religion.
I've figured this out. Spiritual Roswell.
The first father to attempt an exorcism nearly had his throat cut by a restrained Roland. The family were directed, allegedly by Roland or something holy, to move to St. Louis, and so they did, seeking further holy support. Reverend Bowden and Father Halloran took on the job with many assistants. Roland pissed all over his bed and was taken to hospital, where exorcism continued, and eventually, upon being threatened by Archangel Michael, Roland declared he was gone. Roland went on to live a normal life and married with children, including his first son, who was named Michael. Roland, or Ronald, was reported to have passed away on May the 10th, 2020. Was this one a case of 10 demons, one king of hell, mental ill health, a bit of faking it, an angelic attack of sorts, or something else entirely? Are you ready to conclude for the people, Mr. Moonwalker?
How long did these events last? in terms of the first possession and the end?
It was January 1949, and I think about 4 to 5 months, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the 18th of April 1949 where they laid the holy relics on the bed.
I'm trying to think of possibilities, and I'm running through my head of the trauma of losing his aunt, plus the religious household that he's in, and wanting attention. Did all of that not add to, but create mental ill health? Or was he looking for attention, like you mentioned earlier, and all of that was a way for him to get it? He got it, but then was starting to, how do I now get out of this? So he just stopped and was like, he's gone.
Yeah, dug himself a hole too deep and was looking for a...
I don't believe that this was
Spookies?
made up
Demons?
in terms of by priests or anyone, because why would you write it in your own diary that these things happened and that you witnessed them? And the things flying across the room, where did they fly across the room from? Was it only
So I'm
in
not
his house?
entirely sure.
Did he throw things and it was just the case of things were thrown across the room, but no one mentioned that he threw them across the room? Like when they're describing vases were thrown across the room, plates thrown across the room, etc., etc. But the more it's told, it sounds more inexplicable.
The details I've given you are all the details that are out there. It would just be speculation to add anything further.
Oh, I don't think this one's spookies.
Oh. Okay.
I think it's a mental break. Possessive parents, not possessive, but deeply religious parents. You've got no one your own age. Everyone's an adult. Everything's revolving around Jesus, El Savior, and everything like that. And he just, maybe he thinks the reason his aunt died is because of them.
Maybe.
And that's his way to get back. Do we know how she died?
No.
Maybe this is his way of getting back at them. Maybe he feels that they're the reason she died. Maybe he feels it's not fair.
Maybe he feels neglected. If the aunt was his chief play buddy, perhaps parents weren't ever that involved, and was I mean, I'm getting into my own conclusions here, but...
So yeah, not spookies.
Well, I too am not saying that it was demons/spookies. This one is probably the most famous but not famous case of possession there is. We've covered the possessions at Loudun, as I said, on Soapro 41, which are said to be the most famous case of possessions, but everybody has heard of The Exorcist. They just may not know of the true story that inspired it. But is that true story true? So I think this is a bit of Roland faking it, as you say, a bit of mental ill health taking that original faking it and making it real for Roland, hence the family believing so strongly. And I think things like the floating items have probably just been a bit exaggerated over time. That being said, I don't doubt the validity of the experiences of the people directly involved. This must have been awful, and at least it had a happy ending of sorts with Roland, as we called him throughout the episode, finding normality. The general scientific community consensus is that Roland was a deeply disturbed boy. It's alleged that Roland only ever mimicked Latin words he heard the priest speak, though we'll never truly know about this one. it's obviously quite a long time ago now. There's no direct evidence. And I think, things have probably changed from telling to telling over time. Details have been added and whatnot, but it comes back to a disturbed boy in a difficult family for me.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Mr. Moonwalker?
Do we have any...
No.
I was going to say, any information on what his life was like after this?
Lived a happy, normal life. Yeah.
Normal? No.
Had children, had little Michael.
Okay.
You're empty.
Well, if it was a case of DID.
No. But what if?
Yeah, nothing else then.
Well, that is a wrap for today. Thank you for listening to But It Was Aliens. If you want to hear a little bit more, for example, that Ludon case, you can head on over to patreon.com/But It Was Aliens. Don't steal my bit! Where each month we release bonus episodes we call Side Probes. You can gain access to these episodes that delve into further paranormal events for quite literally less than a cup of coffee. You can share episode suggestions with us on the X Twitter at But It Was Aliens. You could also say hello.
Hi.
On Facebook, where connected to But It Was Aliens is a secretly public private group called Extraterrestrial Towers. Being a member of Extraterrestrial Towers grants you protection from the aliens when they invade.
Sometimes.
Does it grant you protection from demons too? Yes. Me and Mr. Moonwalker here are qualified exorcists who will make deals with the devil in exchange for your soul, so we are indeed protected from demons. That is it for this episode, so until next time, why does nobody talk about the fact that Lego people live in houses made of their own flesh? The truth is up there. #probe.
Flesh house. So would they call a flashlight a fleshlight? Would every light be a fleshlight?
It's made of Lego. The house is lit up by flashlights.